Hey, this is Roger Martin from Billings, Montana. Boom, let's do this. This is very interesting. This is from tedx and it's from BYU. And this gal is not an LDS member, but she's talking about living more mindfully, more aware of our technology and using it to our advantage, not to our disadvantage, and not to our addictiveness, which is interesting. Here goes.
Ways that I was most fascinated by last year was an interesting announcement by President Nelson of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, asking 8 million women worldwide to actually take a 10-day social media fast. Now, I was fascinated by this. I'm not a member of the LDS Church, but I felt like this was fascinating study of human behavior and behavior change voluntarily. And
Study of human behavior and behavioral change. Now, she's a writer, I think she said. I'll give you the link to this TEDx talk.
And so I sent out a survey. I received more than 2,000 responses from women worldwide. And I learned a lot in the survey. Number one, I learned that 82% of the women didn't want to do the fast. They did it because President Nelson asked them to or because they felt guilty. But when you think about it, who among us wants to make major behavioral lifestyle change? It's hard, right? So what's interesting to me is that after these women did this,
So we're talking about guilt and behavioral change and after they did it. So there you are. Sometimes guilt is a good thing.
after these women did the fast, these were the results. 60% reported feeling more productive, 40% had better sleep, 13% had less back and neck pain,
Now let's look at some of these. More productive. I thought that was very interesting right at the top. Better sleep, less back and neck pain, exercising more. Now that doesn't surprise me. More productivity, that doesn't surprise me. Excuse me. Increased focus, that doesn't surprise me. More at peace, that doesn't surprise me. Happier, more present with friends and family, that doesn't surprise me. None of this really is that surprising. Just from 10 days away from the electronic or digital gadgetry.
14% were exercising more, 45% had more focus, 41% felt more at peace and happier, and 55% felt more present with their friends and family. Absolutely.
And they applaud and they should. I mean, it's an interesting survey. I'm glad she did it.
Behavior change is hard, my friends. It's hard to get started, but when you have community around you, behavior change becomes that much more possible. For a world where we feel like we have so much against us, that we feel sucked in by social media, we still have the power to choose when and where we give our attention. Which is another reason why I participated this year in another initiative called the National Day of Unplugging. It's actually out of a Jewish tradition called a tech Shabbat. And this year, more than 100,000 individuals worldwide participated in the tech Shabbat, doing things instead of plugging in, like spending time with family and friends, exploring the great outdoors, maybe trying a new hobby. And so this was my first year participating. And what this day of unplugging did for me was really help me hone in on my priorities. I didn't miss at all the constant pinging of my phone. I did not miss having to have my phone within arm's reach. But what I did miss was the opportunity to call my family when I was out of town and to sing my children to sleep that night. All of a sudden I wondered, why am I disconnecting from the very people that I want to connect to? Transformation doesn't always have to mean stepping away from our devices. Sometimes it just means rethinking the way we're using them to use them more intentionally, to move up the Maslow hierarchy of needs, to close the gap of the second.
To move up and to close this social gap and to use it more powerfully, more purposely, more inspiredly. I agree with all that.
Digital divide, which leads us to M for magnification. This is truly looking at positive examples of people who are doing a phenomenal job of creating positive change worldwide. I had the opportunity to travel to the World Government Summit in Dubai, and I helped release the UN Global Happiness Report. And when I was in the room, there were people from all different
A global happiness report in Dubai. Wow, no idea.
Different countries in the room, and they were talking about all different dynamics and aspects of well-being. But it wasn't until we started talking about digital well-being that heads across the room began to nod. I realized this is an international issue. This is something that we are all struggling to find answers to together. And I think part of the way we do that is in the words of the UAE Minister of Cabinet Affairs and the Future, when he says that we're moving out of the age of information into the age of imagination. 65% of the jobs of the future don't exist yet today. In fact, he says the greatest currency we have is not dollars or data, it's in our minds. The future is in our minds. Change is happening in our very midst.
The future is in our mind. There's probably a lot of truth to that.
Which is why it's so important that we create a movement collectively, a grassroots movement to see culture change in our society. And it's part of why I helped to found an organization over the past year called the Digital Wellness Collective that's literally brought 90 different organizations together now to start wrestling with these issues. It's an amazing beginning step, but there's so much more that needs to happen. For this to become a movement, we need feet on the ground. We need developers who are creating human-centered design. We need business leaders who are willing to model digital boundaries at work. We need funders who will support this conversation and the application of humane technology. We need influencers to speak up on their different platforms. And we need you. We need you to spark conversation among your peers, both offline and online. This is how we get unstuck in the digital era. When I think back to the story of the ATM worker, I have to smile to myself because even though it was technology that originally trapped him, it was a human being that freed him, a human being that knew how to use their smartphone to call for help. We live in a complicated world. Is technology distracting? Yes. Is technology consuming? Yes. Can technology be addicting? Yes. Is it worth it? Yes, right? Sometimes I think that we fear that we've opened Pandora's box. We fear that whatever we've let out into the world, we can't put back in. But if you remember the story of Pandora's box, there was one thing left at the bottom after all the contents had been released. It was hope. My friends, fear is a powerful motivator, but hope is a better one. With awareness, transformation, and magnification, we can shape the future of technology instead of it shaping us. And by doing so, unlock the power of the imagination to create a better future. Thank you so much.
There you are. It's Roger Mark from Billings, Montana. I'll give you the full link on this. Think about how we need to shape technology and not just technology shape us. Good little talk from TEDx. Love their stuff. They are working outside the box a lot of times. Good day.